You wind up coming back to WCW here, and you're going to rejoin the company in August. At this point, Steve's been there since May. He's got to be somebody you might think, hey, I could work with that guy, but you're both coming in on the heel side of things, right?
I'll tell you, more importantly than who's a heel or babyface, Steve and I clicked immediately. I think world class. No, I did meet him. I did meet him in Texas. Sorry about that. Because I got a hold of Jerry Jarrett in summer of 90 before I got back. It was after I'd left WCW, clearly before I came back in 91, and I was put on a Friday night show, coming back as kind of a babyface. And I did meet Steve there, and we hit it off right away. So that when I saw him again in WCW, we were riding partners. You know, not two. There was not you were in a group of 4 people at that time, almost all the time. Sometimes more than that. But you generally had at least 3 people in a hotel room, if not a 4th. 1 on each bed, 1 on the cot, 1 on the floor. But probably more often than not, 1 on each bed and 1 on the cot.
So let's talk through that. How would the riding partner stuff begin? Does everyone start in Atlanta, or do you all fly to your destination and meet up there and wait on each other for the rental car?
You know what? In 91, when I rejoined, it was easy for me because Abdullah was my riding partner. He was my tag team partner. And usually you had to have at least 3 people in order to get the company to cover that cost. That's something they did that WWE did not do.
They cover your rental cars.
At least when I was there. But because I had Abdullah, we were allowed to do it with just the 2 of us, and I was allowed to rent that caddy. So it's crazy that I haven't rented a Cadillac in years, right? You never see me show up outside. I'm usually in a minivan, right?
Never.
If I see a minivan, brother, I'm all over that thing. It's like a Lamborghini to me. But I had Abby with me, and so Abby and I rode together for a few weeks. We had Brian Knighton is his real name. Axel Rotten rode with us, and we enjoyed those times. But it was really just me and Abby until he left the company. We talked last week about guys that didn't want to put over people because of Japan. I was at the house show. I think it was the day after. Well, no, I don't want to say what day it was, but it was an Omni show, and he was going to put over. He was asked to put over Dustin Runnels, and that was the last we saw of Abdullah in WCW. So then after Abby left, now I've got to find my riding partners. And more often than not, it was Steve. So I really enjoyed that time with Steve and William Regal, a few other people. But those were my 2 main guys for many months.
So you try to get yourselves on similar schedules as far as when you arrive to the airport and all that?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly how we did it.
Yeah.
Because once 2000 hit and I was the commissioner, then I was getting into town when everyone else was already in the loop.
Yeah.
And that's when I started driving by myself, rooming by myself, and creating the habits that have carried over for the last, 20 plus years. So
let's say you guys are going to ride together. How do you decide who's driving and who sits where?
I don't know. When I was with Corny in the Midnights, I was always in the back seat. I was a good wheelman. I was. Steve thought I had the worst musical taste in the business. That might be why we didn't ride together in WWE. I'd say I rented quite a bit. I mean, I was a driver quite a bit of the time. Steve was a driver. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know a correct ratio to give you.
Do you flip a coin for who gets the bed?
No, every third night.
You rotate.
Yeah, rotate. Yeah, so it was a democratic process because we all split the room, and there's that famous cookie story. I love bringing that to life on stage.
You got to go see a live show.
You got to see it live, and you have to hopefully, if I don't do it, request it. And what works perfectly about that is I've had great comics like Brendan Burns, Jennifer Bloodsworth, who's a WWE writer. She went on the road and did an amazing DDP. Tim Sullivan did a great DDP. But other times I'll just bring somebody out who's willing to drop F-bombs. And they get almost as much laughter and sometimes even more than the comics do. But that came about because it was DDP's turn to be on the cot. Steve and I got beds that night. And there's other stories I told, involving Steve. Again, touching on a subject we touched on last week that should not be funny, but were funny at the time. And
Yes.
I'll argue getting stranded on a gay beach, even in the year 2022,
It's funny.
it's still kind of funny.
So, who the hell gets stuck sleeping on the floor?
Nobody. And at that point, we wouldn't have a fourth guy.
Yeah.
And if we did, I would dare say that, look, you do the mathematics, right? I was a sleep cheaper guy. My first week in WWE, Vince McMahon saw me, stopped me to say hello, and he saw something behind my back. It was almost like when the Big Show had something behind his back, and Vince said, "Let me see it. Damn it, let me see it." And Big Show turned around on SNL, and he had the little fellow,
Yes.
I remember his name, in his arm.
Chris Kattan, maybe?
Chris Kattan, yeah, Chris Kattan. He was like, Vince was like, "Look, put the little fellow down." Big Show was like, "Can I keep him?" That's what I was like, except when I turned around and, what do you have there? Or nothing. Damn it, let me see. He probably didn't say that, but, "Oh, come on, Mick, let me see it." And I turned around, it was a book called America's Cheap Sleeps, How to Stay Anywhere in the United States for Under $30. So doing the math, if you're healing a room, which is a threesome,
3-door room.
it's $10 a night.
Yeah.
If you are splitting a room, it's $15 a night. And not only do you have to sleep on the cot for the extra $5, but you don't have the receipt for your taxes. So I think at a certain point we thought, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe that's a good $5 to spend. But if it was just 3 guys in the car, then you're asking a guy to kind of like spend a night in a room for $30, and that was a little over the top.